Oh, well, everybody know who I want next. I want Terrence Crawford next.
You're going to make that happen?
Huh?
You're going to make that happen?
Oh, definitely. That's the fight that I want. That's the fight everybody else want. Like I said, I'm going to get these straps that I'm going to go over there and take his shit too.
All right. Errol, congratulations. Terrific fight this evening.
Thank you, man. Now, strap season, y'all know what time it is, baby. Terrence, I'm coming for that motherfucking belt.
All right.
I'm not catching fades anymore. Gotta keep my hands clean when they come for the board. Keep it smooth like a dawn, making moves in the dark. Cause I learned how to swim in the pool full of sharks. Now they coaches, cause they can't read all his motions. How the kid never switch codes, but he code switch focus. Staring down your team with a frozen, ice cold look that could end the summer solstice. Cause I'm more like the top dog. Keep on running game and the gang will accost y'all. I be calling plays from a plane while I'm off court. But we ain't the same, you a lame, I'm a mob star. Actually, I'm a top dog on a stat sheet. Off court, but I call plays for the athletes. Laughing when the cop cars try to catch me. Cause I rolled off in a taxi. With my feet up, I'm relaxing. Singing Figaro with no accent. While I pour strings from the streets in. Do it all with a straight face, I'm the kingpin. Top dog, top flow, boss mode. I'm the kingpin. Showstopper, top dog, Godfather, I'm the kingpin. They know I'm a dog and a beast, man. Yeah, I keep the peace with a peace, man. I ain't got no time for appeasement. Why would I respond to a pawn? I'm the... Hold up.
If I let my dogs off the leash, then you might want to get out of Dodge for the evening. Honestly, think it's not the blood and the beef, and they don't leave anything behind after eating.
I can see you soft, ever thought about retreating. If you never have, then they'll give you a reason. Better watch your tone, lose your bass when you speaking. Underneath the mask is the wrath of a... When you learn how to smile in their face, then go cutthroat. Then they wanna call you a con when the blood cold. I remember starving while y'all had a truckload. Now I'm with the mob, with the call and the gusto. I'm a top dog on a stat sheet. Off court, but I call plays for the athletes. Laughing when the cop cars try to catch me. Cause I rolled off in a taxi. With my feet up, I'm relaxing. Singing Figaro with no accent. While I pour strings from the streets in. Do it all with a straight face, I'm the kingpin. Top dog, top flow, boss mode. I'm the kingpin. Showstopper, top dog, Godfather. I'm the kingpin.
What's going on, my brother? What's going on, Ian Banks? What's happening, my brother? Man, you know what I'm saying? Boxing is taking a turn, man. It's taking a turn. You know, it's crazy out here in these streets right now. What's going on, Doc Kent? What's going on, bro? He says, look like we get our come from, yes, Lord. And, you know, people don't understand how much, you know, you love this sport and they take it for granted, you know. So we get people in this space and, you know, even you know, it's like even the most ardent hater loves this sport, you know what I'm saying, to a certain degree. Even if you don't really like Tank, or if you know, it don't matter if you're a supporter, you love the sport of boxing, you're gonna have an opinion, right? You know, because we're men, you know what I'm saying? We are men. So naturally, you know, some of us was raised differently, and that it's gonna have a fact, it's gonna have a determining factor on how you look at shit in boxing. And a lot of people can't stand how strong your opinion is, how weak your opinion is of this damn sport. You know what I'm saying? When you talk about these fighters, people get damn protective and damn sensitive, but it's not like we don't understand the humanity of it, right? Because you got to have a lot of different, you got to have a lot of different elements, you know what I'm saying, to be a successful fighter. But then that don't means you don't know how long that's going to last. You know, your mental, you know what I'm saying, your competitiveness, you know what I'm saying, your drive, you know what I'm saying, your motivation, your team, you know what I'm saying, events that may happen in your life, you know what I'm saying, auntie passing, your mama, your daddy. There's a lot of things that affect these boxes, you know what I'm saying, because it's it's a hard grind, man. And I do think that most of the aficionados understand this. But when you come from a place like, you just want to see this guy, you want to see the best for every boxer. You want them to stay healthy, but it's still a sport, you know. We see football players going at it and they crash into each other and they fall out, you know what I'm saying, on the field and they out and injured for a while. You know what I'm saying? We don't want to see no permanent injuries, you know what I'm saying, when we're talking about our favorite football players. You know what I'm saying? But we do want them to compete. We do want to see that crash though. We want the excitement. We want the entertainment of it. And I think somehow it gets conflated when we talk about our favorite right? You know what I'm saying? You want to see, you want to see them, operate at the best. You want to see Tank Davis knock out most of his opponents. But when it got down to the finals, when you start fighting the top guys, you wanted to see him go through that. But then you got another demographic of boxing fans who don't want to see that shit. You know what I'm saying? Because they're afraid that that's going to tarnish Tank's legacy somehow, you know. And that's all it is that Tank is, he don't want to go to the finals. He just kind of want to fight, and do his own thing in a sports that's structured for you to go up to the top and become the number one guy. You can't just be for most fans, you can't be just the number one guy in your own little bubble. You're supposed to go up through the ranks and fight the guys that everybody's considered at the top, the Shakur Stevensons, the Devin Haney's, even if you don't consider these guys, saying the top guys that he should be facing. But that is the expectation of the sport, right? Because these guys have made it to the finals. Now everybody's like, all bets are off, man. You could just do what you want to do because there's a big bag on the side. So I think that's kind of like where people are. But for years, people argued that Tank is this, Tank is that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not shitting on Tank because I understand things have changed in his life the way he's looking at boxing. I understand that side. What I'm saying is room for looking at Tank as the top professional, as the guy who we thought wanted to be the best, and it just turns out that it's not that, right? So how much do the boxing fan have to say about that, right? I mean, if you brought Tank Davis pay-per-views all these years and you were in the comments, you know what I'm saying, defending him, you was in, about, what I'm saying, how great he is, pound for pound, you know what I'm saying, where he places pound for pound. If you was one of these guys, then you're probably pretty disappointed. You know what I'm saying? But if you're like, what I'm saying, just looking at it from a humanity point of view, you're just like, okay, well, Tank, get all the money you can out the sport with your health and your facilities, you know what I'm saying, and you go take care of your personal life. That's cool too. But I think we're kind of like getting lost in the sauce when we conflate the two, because everybody's under the impression that Tank wanted to be, what I'm saying, the best, and we kind of considered him the best at the time when he was like rocking out and he was knocking out, saying the Ryan Garcia. So he started kind of rising through the ranks to go ahead and fight the other guys. But he didn't want that. And that just kind of threw, I think, the entire boxing world for a curve. So now people are pissed off that we thought Tank Davis mentality was one way. He's like this little mini Mike Tyson. And he's just going through niggas. And then he met Lamont Roach. And that kind of changed his perception in most people's mind. He's not this dominant, force of nature that could just go out there and turn it on like Terrence Crawford did, what I'm saying, and just get rid of opponents when he want to. He looked human. Lamont Roach made him look human. And then, but we don't know, how much of that was Tank Davis just being tired of the sport, not preparing, not living a fighter's lifestyle, you know what I'm saying? We don't know how much that was him just checking out, you know what I'm saying, or how much, could Tank Davis have done better? You know, what I'm saying if he was focused, and that's not Lamont. That's not saying that Lamont Roach, isn't a highly skilled fighter, or that Tank just met somebody who had that mentality to meet, to meet him on that level. Because every fighter got a fighter that comes in on the right night that can give you a hard fight, right? And I was listening to Shakur Stevenson, and he was saying like he sparred against Lamont Roach, and he knew how good that guy was. Even though how fighters out their ego, he was like, well, basically like he really couldn't fuck with me, kind of like, but I could see the skills in the guy, right? But anytime you fight a guy that you grew up with and knows you, he knows your style. He's been studying you, right? So it's just kind of like I don't think I don't think people, it's kind of like it's like we're taking Tank Davis off the chessboard from what we were thinking of him as a competitor, right? That's all anybody ever cared about was Tank being a competitor. That's it, and how hard he was willing to compete in boxing. That's it. So people are making this thing personal, like y'all ain't got shit to say about Tank. Y'all always, got something to say about Tank. No, we thought of Tank as one of the best competitors out there, and we thought he was a special talent, like a Mayweather or Oscar De La Hoya. Anybody we ever thought of Roy Jones Jr., we thought he was up there. He was on that, getting to be or wanting to be on that level. Shakur says it all the time. He want to be on the Mountain Rushmore of fighters, right? He want to be up there with the Sweet Peas and the Muhammad Ali's, but Tank don't want that shit. So that was shocking, right? To most people to hear him say that, right? And nobody knows mentally or emotionally what's going on with Tank. 'Cause we know he's been in a lot of shit over the years. I never gave a shit about that. I don't think most boxing fans care. You got some bitch ass niggas that care about him being arrested and all that stuff. They did Mayweather like that. They ran Mayweather through the mill with his baby mamas and anything that went on the outside. You got the rich glazers and all these people that's jumping on any little piece of news that's negative about a fight. So I've never done that. You know, I'm not a reporter either. So I'm just a boxing fan, right? That love the sport and love to see these guys compete. But they put a lot of onus on boxing opinion on YouTube, right? Like this really affects the outcomes of how long these fighters going to be in boxing when they dealing with really big outlets like ESPN. You know what I'm saying? They dealing with all the other media outlets, right? That ain't got shit to do with what we're talking about. We're just talking about what we want for the fighters, right? And we got a lot of emphasis going on with what people are saying on YouTube, and I don't understand that shit. It's like just like what I'm saying, they don't have to pay attention to what people are saying on YouTube. It's inconsequential to their competing, right? So Tank, to see him break down, and maybe it's not YouTube, maybe it is the big outlets. I don't know, because they be saying some wild shit about him, right? They be saying a lot of wild shit, and look like it has gotten to them to the point where the expectations of fighting the top guys is just like the pressure just done destroyed him. I mean, he just looked like fuck that. I'm just gonna do me, and they just got to accept it. Fuck the boxing fans, and it's just like wow. We paid for your pay-per-views, bro. We got you up there, and we still, want to see what you're gonna do. But the fuck you type stuff, like, where that come from? You know what I'm saying? Like, I understand that you can go through shit in life and you just don't give a damn, right? And you don't owe nobody no explanation, you know what I'm saying? But this shit just come out of, I know for years he's been talking stuff, but you talk shit about other fighters too. You went back and forth with Shakur Stevenson, you know what I'm saying? The little, what's the little thing they were saying? I got it right here. I got it. Where they going back and forth. Where Shakur talking shit to him. You took a knee in the middle of a fight, like a fucking amateur, talking about you got grease in your eyes, and because of the fight was getting tough, you then get on here crying about people fake and you the fakest nigga in boxing. What happened to the 6 7 fight deal? Fuck brother, fuck nigga, and all this stuff. And then Gervonta comes back and he says the people you got, your people you got chest out Oh, got your chest out bad. So you talking like you're a killer, forgetting that you the one that runs, bitch. He says, bring you the fight. I'll bring the fight to you. He said, this nigga is a made up character. Blessings upon you, clown ass nigga. Wanna be see? So you're talking like this. See, so you're talking like this, going back and forth, you know, and it's just kind of crazy. It's like, okay, so we want to see the fight. You don't like the nigga, you know what I'm saying? That's how the build up happens. You building up a fight, believe it or not. So for him to go left, after talking shit like this, you talking, damn, hold on. Let me see this damn thing. Hold on for a second. So you talking shit like this don't help your case, right? So people are going to talk shit right back at you, and then you got fans up under that fighter, and you got your fans, and they gonna go back and forth. So why are you so damn tired of this? You know what I'm saying? It's like all it is just building up for a fight between you two. Now, if you don't want to fight, just come out and say it. I don't want to fight the nigga. What I'm saying? I want to do what I do. You ain't got to blow up. Just people got to accept what you say because you are the fighter, right? You know, we got to accept what you want, but don't go back and forth on Twitter like you're gonna fight the guy, or we thinking that you're Gervonta Tank Davis. You know what I'm saying? The hard punching, what I'm saying, number one guy at 135. You know what I'm saying? And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, man, this is just too much. What I'm saying? People want me to do this. You're always talking about me fighting the next guy. Well, that's what we do. That's what boxing is all about. You know what I'm saying? Once you beat a guy, we want to see you fight the next guy. Now, if you're up to it, if you're not up to it, then let people know. I don't understand what's wrong with that. Like when Earl Smith Jr., if he couldn't get into the ring and he wasn't ready, tell people like, look, man, I'm fucked up. You know what I'm saying? I can't get into the ring right now because right now I got personal issues. Where the communication? Like you don't have to bend to the expectations of nobody. You're a grown ass man, just like he's taking this Jake Paul fight. Maybe he's just built up his courage enough to be able to say this out loud because Gervonta Tank Davis seemed kind of like an introvert. You know, he seems like he's an introverted dude. You know what I'm saying? And he's very aggressive. You know what I'm saying? When he finally get emotion, you know how people use their emotions. You know what I'm saying, to kind of explode. To say what they want to say. And he seemed like one of them type of dudes. I don't know him. I'm just supposing. You know what I'm saying? I'm just assuming, right? And it's not like I got hate or what I'm saying. I like the guy, what I'm saying, but it's not like I ain't got no hate for him. But I'm just looking at the way he moving, and as an old school legacy guy, I've never seen, and I'm pretty sure it's been fighters like this back in the past because we never had this kind of inside knowledge, what I'm saying, of following fighters, on Instagram and social media. So we what I think it was Champs I say, be careful, meeting your heroes, right? So, so you put Tank Davis way up here in your mind, thinking, okay, he's this way, but really, over time, what I'm saying, he's changing. His motivation is changing. Um, his outlook on boxing is changing. And you want more for Gervonta Tank Davis than he want for himself. But the boxing fans shouldn't say nothing about this. They should just be like, well, he could do what he want to do, you know even though we thinking, okay, he's going to knock out Shakur Stevens, he's going to knock out Devin Haney. No, he ain't going to do none of that. And people had, but see, and the people who've been telling you, who's been kind of on the other side for years, they're coming out and letting you know, okay, this is what we always seen in Gervonta Tank Davis, right? There's nothing wrong with that. You know what I'm saying? A lot of boxing fans got a good foresight. They can see, what I'm saying, by the way you move. And I don't think that's hate. I just think people love boxing and they want to see it stay on a certain, plateau, right? They want to see you go for the best and be the best. And we see that in Shakur Stevenson. He says it all the time, that he wants to be a legacy fighter. Do all fighters have to do what Shakur Stevenson do? No. But as far as how boxing fans or most boxing fans look at boxing, that's what you want from your fighter. You want them to be in the game. You want them to be competitive. You want them, all that other shit is beside the point. How what I want for myself, because we're thinking because you came into the sport of boxing that's what you wanted too, right? And I know it don't always remain the same because I seen the Tank that was just going through the divisions and fighting Pedraza and all this. He had a different type of excitement, a different bounce in his step. But over time, with the battles with Mayweather Promotions breaking away from there, the fights with, the things he went through with the arrest and the things he went through with Calvin Ford, and it kind of changed him. You know what I'm saying? I just seen a change in his disposition and his personality, right? So, for me, I'm kind of torn because I like the man talent, but I just don't want to see him go out in a negative light. You see what I'm saying? I don't want to see, his name get tarnished, say, even though he don't give a damn about that, right? He don't care about what I think. But as a fan of this sport and, saying, looking at him as a top guy who I would consider probably had the potential to be up on Mount Ralph on the pound for pound best that we've ever seen. Saying, he just fell short of that. So that's where I'm at with it. Saying, all this other stuff where, the fans are going crazy, saying, and thinking about, you know, it's just a travesty that this man didn't make it, man. Saying? And he's just falling by the wayside. Oh, so let me see. Let me holler at some people that done came in. He said, watch for the hook. He says, thank you, Pooh, for calling it how you see it. He says, Tank is a great talent. We just want to see him. And you just want to see him. Uh, yeah, that's what I'm saying. He said, Tank is a great talent. We just want to see him be legendary. He says, Tank is all Bart right now. He said, Errol Smith gave me everything. Yeah, Errol went for the belts. So, what's going on, Master Khalid in the building? What's going on? Oh, I'm just saying, like, boxing has changed. Boxing has changed, and I'm gonna bring up King because King has always been on this shit, man. You know what I'm saying? He was like schooling me because I was giving Gervonta Tank Davis the benefit of the doubt, but King is very analytical and very astute. You know what I'm saying? But even back then, I wasn't a protector per se, but I always give people the benefit of the doubt, right? But King has been saying, not, I know y'all look at him as a Devin Haney lover and all this kind of stuff, but it's not about that. I mean, he just saw how he was moving and he called it for what it was, right? And I used to tease King Judah about being on the side of Devin Haney, but that ain't got nothing to do with it. Tank has always been moving funny like this here and fighting, just kind of like not trying to take the biggest challenges. Now, I'm not saying he's scared of them other challenges, but he is a fighter that needs the confidence to kind of like take on who he want to take on. And now we're starting to see in the end, in the finals, as I say, that he don't really want to compete in the finals. And I think boxing fans got a right to say what the hell they want to say about it. You know what I'm saying? Even though people don't want to hear it, you know what I'm saying? And they want to demonize everybody and police what people are talking about. People are going to have their opinions, and I think they need to be heard. What's going on, King Judah? What up?
What's going on, Paul? You can hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So really, what it come down to, basically, what I try to say in so many words, like the last time I was on here, I was trying to break it down for people who didn't know, who may have been new, because you had some dudes on here, the ones we was going back and forth with, they didn't even know the history. And usually that's
Right.
what happened when you talking to most people. I did notice some. A lot of the people you talk to about this situation who want to defend Tank, I'm starting to realize, bro, it's a lot of people who haven't been here as long as we did. You know what I'm saying? They haven't seen
Right.
this play out in real time. So they only trying to defend him from what they see now. They don't know what he already did.
Right.
It's like, for example, you're a grown man, Paul. It's like that bad kid, right? It's like that bad. Everybody know he bad. Everybody know he bad. So when he do something, we own him. I'm talking about the family said we own him because we know what he do every day. But see, to a stranger who just came in there and he gave him them sweet eyes, and he made them laugh a little bit. They played with him. When they see us
Sweet
getting
eyes
on
is
him,
crazy.
no, I'm just saying, but listen, but look, I'm just saying, like, so just imagine that new stranger that came there when you getting on him and he got to get his ass whooped. They like, why you doing him like that? He's so sweet. It's like you don't know him. You don't know what this nigga do every day. This
Right,
the same,
right.
it's the same thing. You know what I'm saying? So what it come down to, what I learned about them, that you have that segment of people who just kind of looking at it like, oh, this a black dude, he going through something. All they know is that he can fight and he knock people out. They not keeping up with his history. So the way they looking at it is like, there's no way he can be scared to take these fights like y'all say he is, because he tell me he a monster. He act like he a monster. All his fans say he is a monster. So something got to be wrong. Y'all have to be hating on him the way all his fans say y'all hating on him. It can't be true what y'all saying because they don't know the history. But with the real true Tank fans, the ones who've been lying for him for day one, this what I call. I said this years ago too, but I now I've been validated in what I've been thinking from day one. Paul, well, I ain't gonna say not directly from day one, but after a while, somewhere along these years, they've been defending Tank. Tank fans realized that he wasn't who they said he was. Tank fans realized when they saw some of his struggles, they started to see the pattern of the fighters he liked to fight. Like, why Tank always want to fight a Mexican with flat feet that come forward and can't defend himself to save his life? Why is it that Tank Davis knocking all these people out, but then you look at the pattern is that none of them have good feet, none of them have defense, and they all there to be knocked out. And after a while, instead of them acknowledging that, they loved it because what they can say was back before Turkey Al-Sheikh changed boxing, they can say, well, Tank the man. So I don't care what y'all saying. He making more money than your favorite fighter. He don't have to prove nothing. And at this point, I don't want to see him lose because for the last 2 years, I've been defending this dude. I done said a lot of shit, and I don't want to have to eat my words. So they championed that. They got behind the way he was moving. Yeah, Tank, keep taking them easy touches. I like being able to be on the side of saying that, yeah, you still winning though. You still get knockouts though, and you still get money. I don't care. You know what? As a matter of fact, don't never fight an A-class fighter. Never take a 50-50 fight because then I would have to eat my words if you lose. So what happened was, for the first time, I think in history, I saw a fighter and an entire fan base that was scared to lose. It is. I never
Well,
seen that before. Go ahead.
no, you saw it with Canelo. You know what I'm saying? You saw that same kind of psychological fear because, Canelo built himself up to be the great Mexican hero. And you start seeing it with him, how the Mexican fans got delusional. Now you had Mexican fans that was on the other side, the legacy type Mexican fans who really believe in that old Mexican style and believe in that come forward pressure. You take the punches, you know what I'm saying, and they really believe in that, you know what I'm saying. So they don't really rock with Canelo like that. So you had the same dynamic that we're looking at with Tank with Canelo, and I think Tank kind of resonated with Canelo, especially with Canelo taking control of his career and being able to fight who he wanted to fight. And
Right.
I think I made sense when I was talking about, he was saying, I think at one point he was kind of comparing himself to Canelo at 135, and I just thought that was corny as hell, right? You know what I'm saying? Because you got a mentor, you know what I'm saying? You got Floyd Mayweather, right? And we can make the argument that Floyd Mayweather was he fought Mexicans too, flat-footed Mexicans too. You know what I'm saying? Even though those Mexicans were higher status as far as Diego Corrales, Castillo, you know what I'm saying? These guys were tough ass motherfuckers. He fought Robert Garcia. No, he didn't fight Robert Garcia. That was Castillo that fought Robert. This is how you know how tough these guys were because they was in some tough ass fights, right? You could see the skill and the heart and the willpower. So, the difference between the Mexicans that Tank fought and the Mexicans that Mayweather fought is that those guys were already big in the sport. They was a top tier talent, right? They wasn't on the level that the Mexicans that Tank fought, right? So we give Mayweather more credit because those guys were at the top of the divisions. They were the badasses of the time. They were the la creme. They were in the finals when Mayweather came and chopped them down, and he performed crazy on their ass. He dropped Diego Corrales like damn near 5 or 6 times,
Right.
and he was supposed to be like the fucking Terminator. You know what I'm saying? He destroyed a lot of fighters, a lot of great fighters. You know what I'm saying? Same with Castillo. Castillo and Diego Corrales showed you how bad they was. They damn near, destroyed each other in the ring. They were no more good after that. You know what I'm saying? They beat the life out of each other. And so Mayweather gets a lot of credit because he went through them fighters like they wasn't shit. You know what I'm saying? His talent just shined. He was on another level, right? And so we're thinking the same thing about Tank Davis, but that's in our imagination, you know what I'm saying? Because everybody can't be Floyd Mayweather, you know what I'm saying? Because I think Tank is a special fighter, but he just, you got to be made of certain stuff. And that's what puts you on that boxing Mount Rushmore, is that you're made of something special. And Tank just missing that mentality part. He did, you know, you got to want it for yourself. The boxing fans, your boxing fans can't want it for you. You know what I'm saying? And if the pressure gets to be too great, I understand that. You know, because regular people can't get in the gym and take punches the way these guys do. So there's a lot of respect I got for Tank because he did get this far, right? But like I say all the time on Pool Counter Boxing, every fighter has an expiration date. Errol Spence Jr. had his expiration date. You know what I'm saying? Miguel Cotto had his expiration date. Canelo, we just seen, you know, look like he's finding his expiration date. So we can't be surprised when fighters get old in the ring. Sometimes it's just, you know, the camps, you know what I'm saying? They say sometimes it's like once you start seeing the job, you know what I'm saying, it said the shit is over. You know what I'm saying? Tim Bradley, you know what I'm saying, he had a lot to say about this. And I want to show y'all a segment of what he was talking about because I thought it was pretty profound. And of course, Tim Bradley, you know, he was a fighter himself. So he's got the insight. He knows the mental fatigue that comes along with the grind of boxing, right? And so even though I can't stand Tim Bradley as, you know what I'm saying, sometimes Tim be coming through with some fucking gems, man. He be saying some, you know, some really good deep stuff, you know. I think you got to, yeah, it says device not connected footwork. Let me see. I think I forgot what you got to do to be able to click on. Let me put another link in there. So let me see. So if you want to come up, yeah, yeah, it says device not connected. So I forgot what that means. You got to turn something on and off. I forgot. But let's go to the clip. Yeah, try that new link. Footwork. Try that link. And we're gonna go to the check this out, man, by Tim Bradley. Do I still got that queued up? Let me see. And y'all gonna like this, you know what I'm saying? That, you know, because sometimes, you know, when he gets out of that buffoonery and shit, talking shit about people, you know what I'm saying? He come through with some real shit, man. He be on some real shit. So let's get that queued up. Let me see. I hope y'all can see that. Can you see? Yeah, it's on there. All right. Let's see what Tim talking about. Tim be coming through with some shit sometimes.
40 more to go, you know. It's gonna be slow and steady, man. When I first started this journey, I started running and stuff like that, man. I ended up breaking my damn leg. Not doing that this time. Hey, I'm gonna take my time, slowly build up, man. It's been almost 10 years since I've been training and got in the ring, man. But these hands still work, though. These hands still work. Oh yeah, don't get it twisted. These mugs still fast too. Fast, reactive like a mug, man. I'm trying to tell y'all. Anyways, yo, real quick. Check this out. Tank gone. He gone. Tank is gone. I'm sorry to tell y'all, man. See, look. You got to understand what comes with fame. I don't think anybody had that talk with him. You know, you got to understand what comes with fame. You know, what comes with fame is it's a double-edged sword. You know, it's great. You know, the money's great, but people is all in your business. Yep. All your business is always out there for people to see. You know, cameras are always on you. You know, people are always constantly talking about you, and no one had that talk with Tank, man. You know, and I wish they did, to let him know, to put him up on game, you know, and it's too late. You know, Tank's been in this game a very, very long time. He's tired. He's tired of all the politics. He's tired of all the, you know, the naysayers. He's tired of everything that he's done. It's like he feels like I've given this game so much. I've given it so much. You know, I put smiles on people's face. I knocked out I knocked out. Yeah, I've knocked out people, man. Filled up arenas, man. And still, y'all don't bless me. Y'all don't say, hey, y'all love me. You know, look, if you want to know about a person, and I'm starting to learn this, man, you know, I read up on Keyshawn, and I read up on Shushu, and I've read up on Tank, you know what I mean? I was misinformed. You know, you got to know what somebody's going through, man, or have gone through, and where they've ended up. Now, you have to understand that. You got to understand their DNA, you know. And we as fans, we fail to realize that. We as commentators and fanboys and all that, like we all don't do that. We don't do our research. You know, you got to know about somebody's history. So, like, if you understand where Tank came from, if you understand his background, then you understand how he thinks and why he feels the way he feels. You know, you
Tim cooking, ain't he? He cooking.
do. So, I mean, for instance, like his parents, right? His parents were drug addicts, in and out of the system, in and out of jail. You know, he lived with his grandmother. You know, like, you got to understand when he started boxing, why he started boxing. Understand that, you know, that what the influence that Calvin has had on his life, and how if their relationship isn't great, how that affects him. And if this is not making any excuses, people, this isn't. I'm not making no excuses. I'm just giving you what I think, and I'm giving you the facts surrounding all of this. You know, I remember back in
Point.
2012. You know, I'm living right. I'm living civil. I'm taking care of my business. I feel like I'm doing everything right. You know, I'm living right. I'm saying all the right things. You know, I want people to love me. You know, and I get in there and I fight Manny Pacquiao, and all of a sudden everything changes.
He
Right?
done made it about himself.
Everything changes. Checking my six. Everything changes. You know, now I'm depressed. Now I'm trying to understand why the game is treating me this way, you know. But beforehand, one of my good friends had a talk with me. One of my I call him you know. He said, Tim, you about to embark in something that you've always been wanting to do for a lifetime now. You've been working towards something, but you need to understand something. Uncle Jack, he said, you gotta take whatever comes with all of this that's gonna come your way. Good, the bad, the ugly. You fighting Manny Pacquiao. You beat him, your life is gonna change. Whatever happens, your life is gonna change, and you have to be ready for that. You gotta be okay with what's gonna come. If you're not okay with that, don't take the fight, champ. Don't take the fight. That means the ridicule, the criticism, everything that comes with this. That's what comes with boxing. That's what comes with anything in life, right? When you're successful, people are gonna look at you with a microscope. Tank hasn't had that talk. Tank didn't know that. He's living it right now. You know, you learn along the way. However, right now, Tank is in a place where he's saying to himself, well, I know what happened in the Roach fight, but damn, well, why everybody turn on me? I did my job. I didn't, I wasn't the one, I did my job. You know, the referee called that. That wasn't me. I ain't say nothing. If he would have counted a knockdown, okay. So that's what Tank is coming from. And he's saying, like, man, the game has completely changed. Like, the fans are very fecal. They not with me like I thought they was with me. You know, when he was, you know, filling up arenas and knocking dudes out and everybody was talking highly on him, he felt accepted. He felt like he was.
So I don't want to take all this man content. You know what I'm saying? But the man cooking, right? What you think about? What you think? What's going on footwork? What you think about that?
What's happening, Pool? What's happening, chat?
What's
What's happening,
happening, man?
everybody? Look, old Uncle, what is it? Uncle
Tim.
Tim Bradley, man. Just he doing his normal thing. I give him credit for putting down the butter biscuits for a minute, and you know what I'm saying, riding with his people. You know what I'm saying? But
You there? I think your mic went out. Hey, Foot. I think your mic went out. Or was it me? Can you hear me? Hello? I think your mic went out. Hello, Foot. Footwork. Hello? I think your mic went out, bro. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, the way Tim, you know what I'm saying, the way Tim came at this, man, you know, he came from a fighter's point of view. You know what I'm saying? And we know Gervonta Tank Davis, you know, he's kind of sensitive, but you would have think this was common sense, especially if you got a team around you. You got a wise dude like Calvin Ford, you know what I'm saying? You would think Calvin Ford would have prepared him for this kind of thing. You know, all boxers get criticized. You know what I'm saying? And I think Gervonta Tank Davis do get the love. You know, I don't understand how. You know, why would you pay more attention to the people against you than the people for you? That's the question I would ask if I had Gervonta Tank Davis. I would ask him, why are you looking at the negative people? You know, why are you not looking at the people that's for you? You got football players, you got you know, runners, you know what I'm saying, track fields, you know, they don't look at the negative. They got to keep their mind in a positive space. But if you're a person that's drawn toward drama and toxicity, you know what I'm saying, you're gonna go into the negative space, right? And I'm not saying, you know, this I know Gervonta Tank Davis, but if you come from that world where, you know what I'm saying, you want to see what your haters say, you got to prepare yourself mentally for that shit. You know, you can't be a person that kind of, you know, woggles inside of negativity, right? You want to see what people saying that don't like you. It's always gonna be some shit that you don't want to see or hear or read. I don't care if it's from ESPN. I don't care if it's from, you know what I'm saying, from your basic boxing fan, you know what I'm saying, that likes Devin Haney, right? You know, you got to ignore that shit and just if you got a fragile mental where that shit works on your stress, you got to stay in a positive mindset. Put yourself in a bubble. Protect yourself. Do what you got to do so you could, you know, you could keep performing the way you do, right? That's my only. I don't know why it's not allowing you to pop up. I'm gonna put another link out there. Footwork. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause I want to hear what you got to say. Um, you know, to keep yourself in a positive mind state, man. And I don't understand why Tank is focusing so much on the negativity side, right? I don't understand that. Um, you know, and it's like come from out of nowhere. Like for so many years, for so many years he's had the limelight, and you know he had the adoration of his peers. Well, I ain't gonna say his peers, but they saw what he was doing. He was entertaining. He was knocking out people in the ring, so everybody was with him. All of a sudden, he have one little, you know, adverse thing in the ring with Lamont Roach, and then he thinking people is all against him. So it just kind of like I don't get it. It don't correlate to what his career has been, and why is he looking at it in such a negative way? Just because folks always wanted to see the best fight the best. So I don't understand how he's looking at this crazy like this, and I don't know, you know, what he's actually been through in his life. You know what I'm saying? As far as why he's kind of like focusing on the negative side so much, and I know he's had issues with Calvin Ford and all this kind of stuff. So maybe everything is just coming to a crescendo, and he's just kind of like acting out and checking out. And we don't know if he's really going to retire. You know, he might just need a little vacation or something. But whatever he do, you know, I'm happy for him. You know what I'm saying? Because you know, I've always looked at Tank as I just want to see how far he's going to go in this shit. You know what I'm saying? And how far he could take it. But are you back, Footwork? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
What you about to say? Go ahead.
Nah, man. Just kind of jumping off on what Tim was talking about, man. You
Hmm.
know, I know you know trying to be understanding or whatever with this kid, but bottom line, Tank is just a spoiled brat, man. That's just what it is, and I blame his fans for that. You know, they and the amazing thing to me is that the fans they kind of judge like the Devin Haney's and the other fighters, the Shakurs and
Hmm.
everybody else on a different standard than they do for Tank. You know what I'm saying? Tank can duck and dodge damn near all of his peers and still turn around. You know what I'm saying? And
Hmm.
find some kind of way to justify this fight with Jake Paul, but yet and still he can't never be satisfied or happy. He the face of the sport, but he the boogeyman at the same time. And everybody always making excuses about why he can't take the best fights, the dangerous fights out here, and really just put some steel behind his name. You know what I'm saying? And so
Right.
now
Right.
you know, we all have got to try to figure out another way to say, hey, let's hold out. Do you realize this dude been a pro for what, like 13 years now? His career is almost over. So, you know, why are we still trying to baby this dude like he's some kind of prospect? You know what I'm saying? Either
Right.
you got your stuff together mentally, or you just need to take a step back and go get that taken care of, man. And there ain't no harm in that. But for him to still be in this sport, holding a title, and then going to this clown show and taking a fight like this, it's ridiculous. And I'm damn sure not going to pay it anything for it beyond a Netflix subscription. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, Tim, at least he, you know, at least trying to not go so hard on Tank today. I don't know what he might end up saying tomorrow. But you know what I'm saying? At least for right now, you know, he sounds like he's trying to be understanding of what Tank might be going through. But here's what we do know: we know how he talk to his fans. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We know that he don't jump on their show. We know when they ask him, hey, you know, can you fight a real fight? You know, at least after this or something. Hell no, you need to shut up and be a fan. You know what I'm saying? You know, but at the same time, we got to be understanding for him. You know what I'm saying? Everybody got a baby Tank. You know what I'm saying? I'm done with that. I'm done with that. And so, you know, I'm just gonna sit back and let it all play out. But I'm just gonna go back and I finish on this, fool. That it goes back to these fans. You know what I'm saying? You can't be supporting this stuff, and you can't be having the double standards. You know what I'm saying? And you got criticism for one fight, trying to fight real fights. You know what I'm saying? You got fighters out here trying to make a legit name for themselves, and you got criticism and judgment for them. And then Tank can, you know, he can ride his whole career. He's about to retire now. You know, a multimillionaire, and it really hadn't fought nobody. If you take a critical analysis of it, these fighters hadn't beat nobody, the guys that he beat. So at the end of the day, you know, just let this dude be something other than a legitimate world champion, like some of these other fighters out there. And I'm gonna leave it right there.
So let me ask you this, footwork, and I'll get Judah in here. So what about the champions he did beat, the Pedrazas, the Leo Santos, and
Yep.
do you give him any credit for that? You know what I'm saying, for giving us the entertainment? Marius Boreas at 140. Do you give him any credit for that? You know what I'm saying, and getting the knockouts. You know, knocking out Ryan Garcia.
Yeah.
All these things were very entertaining. I enjoyed it. I think I got my money's worth. You know, should we look at Tank like, you know, just enjoy him for what he gave us, or are we kind of like pissed that he's not reaching his potential? You know what I'm saying, or the
Yeah.
potential we thought he had. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you know what I'm saying? You see where I'm coming from? Like, should we just accept what he gave us and be cool with that? You know what I'm
Well,
saying?
I hear you. I hear you. And here's my perspective on the pool.
Hmm.
When I saw him years ago, you know, coming up the ranks, just like, you know, his other peers, you know, I saw him as being exciting too. And the competition that he was taking out, you know what I'm saying? People like to say, hey, he was knocking out everybody. You know, people use that term a lot. And he was
Right,
doing the
right.
same thing at that stage of his career. He was very exciting. But when you look closely at his game, and I'm not saying that anybody's perfect, but when you look closely at his game, the way that he would touch these guys and get them out of there, he would set them up in a way where he would kind of pick at them until they made a mistake, and then he could nail them with something. But he really wasn't
Hmm.
setting guys up. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't
Hmm.
really setting guys up with, you know, touching them to the body and then tricking them and then coming up over the top with something. He wasn't breaking them down over the rounds. He was catching and getting guys out of there with one good shot. And that was his
Hmm.
signature. And yeah, that was a lot of fun to watch. But I knew that there was holes in this game based on that, and he could be outboxed. I always believed Tank could be outboxed. And this
Hmm.
was long before the Roach fight. But I do give him credit for the Pedrajas. I do give him credit for the good knockouts that he gave us. But let's face it, just like Mike Tyson, when you get in there with another dog that's got skills, that can avoid your best shot, and you had to learn how to really set guys up, break them down, throw combinations. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
In a way that you can get these guys and win a solid decision and dominate. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
and I didn't see Tank as being the complete package. He was always
Right.
excited. You know what I'm saying? But I never
Right.
saw him as the complete package. Then he got this fan base that Floyd Mayweather gave him, And now all of a sudden his career is what it is, you know, pretty much from that standpoint. And, you know, I give him credit for what he's done, but I can't give him credit for ducking. I can name right off the top about 6 good fighters that he could have went out there and got some smoke with. And I wouldn't have had nothing to say about it. Win, lose, or draw. At least he's going out there trying to fight the best because he believes he's the best. But outside of that, if you're not going to do that, I can't put you in the same category as the other guys who at least asking for dangerous fights.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Whether they get it or not, you document it, you on paper, you know what I'm saying? Calling guys out, trying to send paperwork, trying to make dangerous fights happen. Whether you win, lose, or draw, at least you step into the smoke. I can't give him credit for that, Paul.
Well, I remember when Lomachenko was after him, and I'll let you in, Judah, after I say this. I remember when Lomachenko, I think Floyd Mayweather, when he wanted, anytime they would get into it, and Mayweather would threaten, almost like a threatening type of thing. Say, okay, you know, say I'm gonna set you up with the Lomachenko fight, and then we'll see Gervonta Tank Davis go off on these weird rants, like, man, like, hey, don't you want to fight Lomachenko? You know what I'm saying? And it was like, bro, we want to see you, you know, go out there and fight Lomachenko. He was like, oh man, they trying to get me beat and all that. And I was like, what the hell is this? You know, I was just like, what's going on? So I knew it was something different, you know, the way Tank was approaching, you know, boxing and stuff, because of course, when you see somebody as talented as him, like you said, you know, he wasn't like really breaking down fighters, and we didn't see the complete package, you know, say of his fighting style. We just knew he had power, he was quick, explosive, and we wanted to kind of see where he was going to take that. So I think we kind of suffer from, you know, the high expectations that we had for Tank Davis, and the potential that we had for him. And I think he's getting convicted by that, because he never wanted the things that we wanted for him in his career. He wasn't the quintessential fighter like a Earl Spence Jr., you know, so who's going to go for all the top challenges. So I think he's suffering. He's being convicted by that. You know, say no, he's a different kind of fighter. He want to do what the hell he want to do, and I think a lot of boxing fans are really pissed off about that. And he's got his fans, his hardcore, most ardent fans. They don't care about the legacy side of it. You know, so they care. Well, maybe they do, but they kind of accept. They're more accepting to because they're big Tank fans. They're more accepting that he's willing to abandon the legacy side of it. And I think for a lot of us, that's blasphemy. You know what I'm saying? You know, you know, you're just kind of torn. You know what I'm saying? That he was this big face of boxing type of dude, or he always considered himself, because he was selling so many pay-per-views, selling out arenas. And you know what I'm saying, he was talking shit on other fighters. He called Shakur Stevenson boring. He called Devin Haney, you know what I'm saying, boring. You know what I'm saying? And just because he was getting the knockouts against, you know, cherry pick fights, you know what I'm saying, he put himself above those guys who was about the legacy. And I think that's why he's getting so much pushback right now, because we're talking about the legacy fighters, who's, you know, the Devin Haney's, the Shakur Stevenson, who wants to prove themselves, you know, say, versus the bag chasers, you know, saying, who can get in and they can stir up, you know, a lot of excitement, but you know, they don't really want it like that. They don't want um, the long term legacy, right? So you know, Tank is just, you know, kind of exposing that to the public. Like, look, this is what I want for me. You know what I'm saying? Fuck all y'all, what y'all talking about. And everybody's kind of shocked and clutching their pearls, because we thought he was a legacy fighter. Oh, I'm sorry, I was long winded. What's up? What you think about all that, King Judah?
Yeah, I agree. I just think that for the longest, like you say, bro, a lot of people, they wanted to believe that he was a legacy fighter, but more so than anything, I'm coming to the realization that a long time ago, Tank fan base as a whole knew he wasn't who they said he was, and they still decided to defend him to the end. That was the part. That was the slap in the face to the other
Mm-hmm.
fan bases. When you want to come here, you want to start arguments with us, because you know, usually, I'm gonna give you an example. Usually, when fan bases come to, you know, come against each other, you know, when they fighters got static, you know, both fan bases, whether like, how I want to say this, whether one side think the other side crazy or not, they usually believe what they talking about. When Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford was about to fight, when they was you know, when we knew they was gonna fight, Errol Spence fans believe that he can beat Terrence Crawford. Terrence
Mm-hmm.
Crawford fans believe that he can beat Errol Spence. That was never the case with Tank Davis fans. They never thought after. I think in the beginning they did, but after they watched how he moved, watched his opponents, watched how certain things went down with him in the ring, watched him, especially when certain things happened, how he moved, the certain type of fighters he fought, the stuff that was said. Because even when it came down to it, it's like every time they try to put words in Tank's mouth, he always made them look stupid. And I'm gonna tell you what was the nail in the coffin for them is when they kept saying, "Yeah, Tank can beat Shakur." See, Devin had already left. He had Guck Devin for 3-4 years. Devin had already left the division, but everybody was waiting on him to fight Shakur, and they was like, "Well, Tank will knock Shakur out, no different than he'll do Devin." And then they asked Calvin Ford about it, and Calvin Ford went in front of the word and said, "Yeah, we don't want to fight Shakur because Tank ain't gonna be able to do what he do." His own coach said that we not gonna, if we fight Shakur, everything y'all see Tank do that y'all fell in love with, we not gonna be able to do that if we fight Shakur. He said this. Again, yeah. I said it yesterday when I told him the guy I was talking to yesterday, I was like, well, they asked Tank Davis out his own, Floyd out his own mouth. You done heard Tank Davis concede that he don't think he can beat other fighters. That's not the way fighters talk. Like most fighters don't think like that. Even if they, bro, this how a real fighter think. Even if they think you better than them, even if they think you hit harder than them, most fighters, bro, have a fighting instincts or a fighting pride that say you might be better than me, but I can be better than you on one night. All I need is one night to be better than you. That's how a fighter think. You might be better than me, but I'm gonna make sure I'm better than you that night. But that's not how Tank Davis think. Tank Davis, they asked him about Lomachenko. Floyd, like, bro, guess another thing about it. Somebody said this early in a comment I was reading. They was like, yeah, Floyd knew Tank Davis didn't have that kind of champion heart. That's why as soon as Tank Davis pissed Floyd out, the first thing he said was, keep playing with, I'm gonna make that fight with Lomachenko. This is a fighter who got a lion heart looking at another fighter who don't and basically putting them in his place. Like, don't forget, I know who you is. These fans, you got these fans, fool. I know what type of dude you really is. I'm around you all day. I know you don't want to smoke with people like a Lomachenko, people like a Devin Haney, people like a Shakur Stevenson. You don't want that. And then again, I made this point yesterday. Most people say, well, he was young back then, give him grace. Well, 5 years later, they just asked him the same scenario. They brought up Shakur Stevenson at a Jake Paul presser. Yo, what about what's gonna happen with Shakur Steve? Basically, some words they were saying, look, you ain't gonna fight Roach. We know how they went down. I know you don't want to get embarrassed twice by Roach. That'd be a career killer. But if you lose to Shakur, people will be more lenient on you. These are the reporters trying to give him some grace. So how about Shakur Stevenson? We don't even want to see you fight Roach no more. How about Shakur Stevenson? The first thing this man said, the first thing that came out this man's mouth was, y'all just want to see me lose.
That's crazy work. It's crazy.
If that's a lack of confidence, bro, if that's not a lack of confidence, I don't know what is. But again, like I said, I believe his fan base knew this after a while, and they still defending him. This is why I have a particular problem with Tank Davis fans, because they never believed he was as good as they said he was. But they argued anyway. They created channels anyway to defend and lie for this man. Defend and lie. No matter what Tank Davis did, they came up with a lie for 5 years straight, bro. I'm telling you, I saw this in real time, bro. No matter what Tank, every time Tank was in the corner when the truth was about to come out, he didn't have to defend it because he had an army of people that'll go online and defend it for him and lie for him. Anytime Tank Davis got caught, just like you said, that was you talking earlier. You said that they don't hold Tank Davis to the same standard that they hold the other fighters to. Because I don't know if you've been paying attention, but lately, capping has been a big thing in boxing. We're in a generation now where the things you say, if somebody can prove you lying, capping is as bad as losing a fight. So that's a taboo. You don't want to get caught capping or lying, right? But the difference is, if one fighter says something that didn't come true or it didn't happen exactly the way he said it, he's capping. But if Tank Davis tell a blatant lie, Tank just trolling. That's not capping. He's just trolling y'all.
Hey, King, I'm going to just add this in real quick. Look, this dude quit in front of everybody. He quit. He took a knee. He quit. He went over to his corner, and technically he could have been disqualified right then there on the spot. The fight could have been over right there. And the one thing that I noticed in that fight, when you compare that to the Devin Haney sparring match, he did pretty much the same thing he did in sparring. Remember, he turned his back. He quit.
Same thing.
And Floyd was trying to peel him off the doggone ropes to make him go back out there and keep fighting. And eventually he did, just like he did in the fight. But remember, he panicked, he got hit, he panicked, he went down, and he ran over to his corner, and he could have been disqualified right then and there on the spot.
Right, and you know what? You brought up a good point, because when you said that, that made me think about, you know, who was the first person to point out. Now, mind you, I had already been hearing that Tank Davis cracks under pressure. I've been hearing this, right? You know, in his different camps and different sparring, he cracked under pressure against Frank Martin. When Frank Martin cracked him, he wanted to take the gloves off and fight for real, right? So, but who brought it out to me that he always whining was Rolly Romero crazy ass. They was asking Rolly Romero about Tank. He was like, you know how you talk. He's like, he's a fucking bitch. He's a bitch. He always crying to the ref. And when you watch every Tank fight, he will stop in the middle of a fight to go crack to somebody. If a referee not there, who he was crying to in the doghouse sparring with Devin, he'll cry to anybody that'll listen. When he getting whooped, he'll cry to anybody that'll listen to him to stop from getting whooped. Nobody.
Man, that is crazy, man, because, you know, I remember when Devin said that, you know, he fought him till he quit. And I was just thinking that he wasn't in shape, you know what I'm saying, because it was sparring. And, you know, more and more you start hearing, you know, things about, you know, Tank, you know, just his mentality, you know what I'm saying. And I was thinking this guy is a killer, you know what I'm saying, because when I saw, you know, the footage, the first footage they put out, and I saw Tank just going in, you know what I'm saying? It's like, but I didn't see that second half where he quit, you know what I'm saying, and left the ring, you know what I'm saying? Because Devin, you know, they showed all the good parts where Tank was dominating, you know, so we're not dominating, but you know, he was aggressive
Right.
and pushing Devin back. And I think Devin was only like 16 at the time. He was just a teenager. Well, Tank was you know, he was a grown man, right? So, you know, it's a lot of things, you know what I'm saying, the way they try to frame, you know, each side try to frame it, but then it kind of correlates to what's going on today with Tank. You know what I'm saying? You know, the way he looking at the sport. And you know, I just don't understand. Like Tim was saying, you got to understand where Tank's mentality, where he come from. You know, sometimes when you have low self-esteem, you know, you really, you know, you did better than you thought. Sometimes I listen to Terrence Crawford. He said, "Man, I never thought I'd get this far. I never thought I'd be doing the things I'm doing." But he had you know, he had that dog in him. You know, he had that dog in him to get to the next, you know, just to forget about yesterday when you lost in the Olympics. You know, forget about that sparring session where you got your ass kicked, and you know what I'm saying, rebuild yourself and have the confidence, you know, to go in there and take on the challenges. That's that dog, right? And I just, you know, it's just kind of shocking, you know what I'm saying, for everybody, I think, you know, that everything has like kind of come in on Tank Davis, you know, and all the things that we were sold about him, you know, and I think a lot of the people who was his detractors over the years, that, you know, they feel like they've been, you know, justified in what they were saying over the years, you know. And it also, it's kind of crazy because Tank, he's so prideful on Twitter. You know, he's on X. He's so prideful about, you know, his image, and he cares about his image. I'm looking at the little purse bag and, you know, this hyper feminine shit that he be promoting. You know, I'm just like kind of like, damn, where is his head at in all this shit? Like, when are you just gonna put your head down and grind it out? You know, and I know, you know, there's different kind of men and all this kind of shit, but you know, I do respect him as a fighter, you know what I'm saying? Because he did get in the ring, he did take on some challenges. But you know, these guys are not made up of the stuff that we, you know, the 15 rounders guys back in, you know, Mike McCallum's, the Marvin Hagler. These guys ain't made of that same kind of shit, you know, today. You know, so it's just kind of shocking when you see somebody quit the sport, you know what I'm saying, sport that we love. We thinking if you get in that ring, you made a different stuff. So we got to give him some credit on one hand, but he just wasn't the complete package. And it's just kind of hard to see somebody fall short with so much damn talent and ability, you know. And then to shrink away from your rivals, man, is a no-no. That is a blasphemy in boxing. You know, to shy away from, you know, your rivals and people who want to test your abilities. And then when you build up a fan base that don't want to see you challenge, that pisses people off too. You know, you're trying to protect a guy who talks a lot of shit, to other fighters and always got some slick stuff to say, through Twitter, you know what I'm saying, always saying something embarrassing about people. Well, okay, well, we need to see you fight. We need to see you fight them guys. Don't sit back and wait for them to have a bad performance. And I just think that's hypocrisy. I think that's hypocrisy. And I thought because he was talking this kind of shit, he had the kind of killer mentality to go in there and show that he's better than these guys, right? But really, he's just a Twitter troll. And I hate to just break him down to that, but I wouldn't be talking shit to somebody if I didn't want to get it on with him, right? But Tank is clearly one of these kind of dudes, right? That would just say his piece on Twitter, and then he erased the damn tweet, so it won't stay up, so people can't, they still catch it, but he erased the damn tweet. So I was like, what kind of shit is that? So why are you, erasing the things that you're saying about other fighters and you're supposed to, be wanting to fight these guys, right? So I see a lot of channels, a lot of people, they're giving Tank a lot of grace, and he's done a lot of fuck shit. You know what I'm saying? He's done a lot of fuck things, and it's like they letting him off the hook. And I don't understand it because we know what boxing is. It's entertainment, but it has a tradition, right? If you're gonna pump your chest out and you're gonna train and you're gonna become the face of boxing and you're gonna be that dude, then you got to go out there and back that shit up. And Tank right now, he feel like we ain't got the boxing fans need to just shut the hell up and let him do what the hell he want to do. This Jake Paul fight is inconsequential, right, to the sport of boxing. It's not even a real fucking fight. So and he don't understand why people just not happy for him. You know what I'm saying? It's like, dude, you one of the top fighters, or supposedly one of the top fighters, and you just had a terrible blemish on your boxing legacy with Lamont Roach, and you don't know what people expect of you. And I know that people, he tried to get involved with the rematch with Lamont Roach, right? But of course, he got arrested, and that kind of got thrown off track. But what people want to see from you is to correct the blemish before the fake fight with Jake Paul, and then you going through all this disrespect. Um, you going through all this humiliation ritual. You're going through with Jake Paul. It's just making your image look worse. This man telling you you his fighter. He's paying for the event. He's teaching you, he's treating Tank like he's a slave, right? Talking all this bullshit. I would have really bust Jake Paul in the fucking mouth. You know what I'm saying? Like for real, with my bare fist, talking that bullshit the way he was. And he just made Tank look a little lower, you know what I'm saying, in the press, man, the way he was, just talking down on Tank. And it was just like, wow, bro. It's like you're allowing this kind of shit to go down. I know he's paying you a shitload of money, but you can't sell out like that. You know what I'm saying? You at least gotta, stand up for yourself. You can't allow people just to, you're a fighter. You know what I'm saying? Fight. Slap the shit out that dude. Do something. You know what I'm saying? He ain't fit to back out of the fight right now. But I just thought he lost a lot of credibility, allowing this kind of spectacle to happen. And I just thought better of Tank. And I was let down a little bit about the press conferences and stuff like that, and the way he's whining, about about his career and his fans. And I just think it's the bad look on him, and I think he will retire. I think he will retire, and I think this is just going out bad for him. But if that's what he want to do, he's definitely entitled to it. But boxing fans who follow the sport is going to have something to say about it. If you think people, and it don't really affect him one way or the other. It's not like he's going to take all these comments with him to retirement. You know what I'm saying? It's just the way it is. It's like if you a top guy, people are going to have something to say, good or bad, right? You don't have to look at the bad. You could go with what your supporters say. They said if he retires the GOAT and they said Tank was the best, cool. You know what I'm saying? If that's the way they feel about it, right? But don't jump on the negative wagon and everybody fuck this, and even he's dissing even his top supporters. You know what I'm saying? He's dissing them too. So he's just kind of checked out, and I think he's just kind of wilding out right now. He's going out bad. He says, Bud has him mind and one goal. He says to be the best champion he could be. Right. But see, that's a legacy fighter, right? So strategic as he was, he's definitely a legacy fighter. He said we can't give him credit for quitting. He says we're celebrating failure now. That's the new world we in. He said then he had the audacity to say the sport is dead, and that's what's another thing. It's dead to you. So it's dead to him and all his expectations because he couldn't handle the pressure. Just because it's not fun for you anymore, or you've lost your motivation, the sport ain't dead. It's just you dead to the sport. And I think he need to understand that, if you can't motivate yourself to move forward to fight your rivals, then boxing fans are gonna have a lot to say about that. And people who love Tank Davis, they trying to police all that. Like, hey man, look at Tank's human side. So he got a lot going on. That ain't got shit to do with the person who's trying to pay $79.99 for your pay-per-views. They don't want to hear all that shit. You know what I'm saying? They want to see you fight who they want to see you fight. We got demands. You know what I'm saying? You can say fuck our demands, but the reason you in the limelight and the reason anybody is interested in Gervonta Tank Davis, life is because he is a entertaining fighter, right? Now, if you don't want to go with the program, hey, say God bless you, bro. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. But as long as you in the sport participating, you're supposed to care about the belts. You're supposed to care about legacy. These are things that's supposed to happen as a fighter, right? So I'm just confused. I'm just confused. Like, what went wrong for you, buddy? So what went wrong? I just don't get it, man. And I'm just like shocked at the boxing community because you got half that want to support him no matter what, knowing what he's done in the past, knowing how he acted towards these fighters that he's supposed to be fighting. And he's going back on that. He's taking a left turn and they're like, cool. You know what I'm saying? They're like, cool. But we don't want nobody to say nothing negative about him. And I don't understand that at all. So, you know, Jimmy says the fact that he's the B side to your YouTube says it all. And it's just a money grab, man. It's somebody pay you $40 million. It's like them OnlyFans girls that go over to buy to get shitted on, right? They may make a big bag, but you still got shit. You letting people shit on you, right? You letting people pee and shit on you for a bag, right? And that's all this is. You know what I'm saying? He might as well go on to buy and let people shit on him, right? And pee on him, right? And we supposed to be cool with that, you know. That's how I look at it. Now, like I said, it's his career, it's his life, and you may retire and live in the laps of luxury for the rest of your life and forget about boxing. But this is how people are going to see you, right? As you leave out of here, you know what I'm saying? This is how people are looking at you, and people going to have their opinions. He's got to accept that. What you guys think about all that?
Yeah. Is he really getting $40 million?
30, whatever, you know what I'm saying? I mean, he's getting a bag. I know that.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly how much, but I know he's getting a bag. So, but
'Cause
is it worth it though? Is it worth
yeah. Well, that's what
Mhm.
I'm saying. And I heard Mike got 20 mil for his. So, whether it's 20 million, 30 million, 40 million, he could have had that probably and more if he had fought Devin, Shakur, you know what I'm saying, Loma, you know, some of these other guys, Gary Russell, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but
He would,
is it low risk? But this is low risk. This ain't even going on box rec. So he's looking at it like this don't even count as a fight to get this kind of bag. And you know what I'm saying? So he won't have to take the chances of losing to his rivals. He don't want that. I don't think he want the pressure of losing to could you imagine if he lost to Shakur Stevenson? Shakur Stevenson, even though I think he's very highly competitive, I think he would be rubbing it in Tank's face. And I don't think Tank can take that kind of ridicule or that kind of loss. You know what I'm saying? I think psychologically, I think that would destroy Tank if he lost to one of them guys. You know what I'm saying? Like you could just tell, he wouldn't even give them the opportunity.
yeah.
Excuse me. I don't think he could survive, you know what I'm saying, the you know, the aftermath of what's coming, the trolling and all of it, you know, if he lost to Devin or Shakur. I think that would destroy his career. What you guys think?
No doubt, because his mental state has always been in question.
Hmm.
You know, it's time for us as boxing fans to really come to grip with that, because you're looking at that man face on that stage with Jake Paul, man. Something is off with him. I don't know if he in a sunken place. I don't know what's going on. You know, but
And
he you know, maybe he play acting. I don't know, but he looked off. He looked weird. You know, I don't know. You know what was going on. He might have been crying before he got on stage. I don't know, but his mental state is always been something that's in question. But, you know, going back to the sparring, going back to his choice of opponents, the fact that he never asked for dangerous fighters, even when he was with Floyd. He never went for those, you know, maybe those 50-50 type fights that he could have got, maybe, if he while he was still with Floyd. He never really sought to kind of test his skills out against the best in the world. And, you know, all of that just kind of points back to this guy is not, you know, what people were trying to claim that he was. You know what I'm saying? An exciting
yeah.
fighter, a good fighter. You know what I'm saying? With good skills. But
Well,
he, yeah,
go
but
ahead.
but but beyond that, bro, you know, nah.
Well, I mean, he could have did like, you know, like Canelo, right? You know, Canelo had some big names, but he fought them at the end of their career. You know, you know what I'm saying, he could have did something like Canelo, and you know, just kind of cruise, you know what I'm saying, cruise, you know, beyond all the athletic guys that moved around or guys he thought could have beat him. He could have kept going like that, but for some reason, it looked like he ran out of names. You know what I'm saying? Like, because Canelo didn't give a damn about what people were saying, right? He went on a European bum tour, and no, you know, I think Tank was about to get like a 6 fight deal or something like that. And I don't know how much control, if he had, you know, Canelo controlled who he wanted to fight, if Tank had that kind of ability to control who he wanted to fight in that 6 fight deal. And I think that would have cemented what he wanted if he had the control to get the names that he wanted. Like Turk, the Turk want to fight super fights. So I understand why he didn't go in that direction, because the Turk wants you to fight the top guys who he wants you to see, the you know, the fights that captured the fight fan imagination. So I understand why he didn't want to go that way. Um, this here Jake Paul fight is just an easy way to make money without the pressures of facing those guys. And it wouldn't surprise me, you know what I'm saying, if he really do retire. You know, with everything that's out there, you like Tank. You know what I'm saying? Is this what you really want, man? You know what I'm saying? Like, you really gonna turn your back on boxing fans, your true fans who want to see you, who think you're the best. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna turn your back. It's no coming back from that shit, bro. There's no coming back from that, man. And I just, that's what I say about him looking bad, going out bad. You know, if he was to come back, he would have to fight them guys like immediately. He would have to fight. He would have to face Roach. He would have to face. Then he would have to face Shakur. Then he would have to face Devin. It would have to be his rivals, right? But by the time all that goes through, you're gonna have the Abdullah Masons up there. You're going to have some other names up there that you're going to have to go through. So right now, you're 30 years old, and the young generation is coming through. So those names are going to get tossed into the hat. You're
And,
not going up past 135. So you're going to have to face them guys. Then you're going to have more expectations on you. So
and,
I think it's probably good that he get his ass up out of there.
and
What you say?
what about how he looked in the fight? What, you know, how's he gonna look going out there against Jake? You know what I'm saying? You know, is he just gonna go out there dominate
Mm,
from start to finish? Is he gonna go out there and look mediocre? You know what I'm saying? Are they just
mhm.
be play fighting, slap boxing? I mean, then now he got to
But
take that back, like you're saying, to the negotiations for Shakur or somebody serious.
and you make a good point, you know what I'm saying? But at this point, I don't think nobody really cares about the Jake Paul fight. You know, if they do terrible numbers, that's going to be a criticism. You know, they're going back and forth. It don't even matter about the gloves. It don't matter if Tank get knocked out. If he goes out there and look bad, that's going to count against him. Um, Jake, even though Jake Paul is like 210 pounds, you know, come fight night, the shit is just is dumb. It's dumb just because he need he need the positive publicity right now, because right now it look like he's running away from his rivals, right? And you can't afford that kind of stuff when you're a top guy like Tank. And see, everybody, that criticizes people who talk about Tank, we giving him the credit for doing what he has done in the sport. It's just that we see how he moving. He's moving like a weak-minded fighter, right? Everybody gave him credit for what he's done. Everybody said, okay, he didn't fight the best competition, but he is entertaining and he looks like a killer in the ring. But he just had this one blemish. Okay, let's see what he's gonna do next. Jake Paul pops up. And the understanding that the PPC wanted to put this on Tank, and that like Tank ain't asked for this fight, because there's a rumor out there, because I don't know how true it is, that Canelo was supposed to fight the Jake Paul fight, but Canelo said, "Nah, I'm not gonna, fight a circus show." Right? For Canelo to say that, that's kind of wild, because I could see Canelo getting that extra little 30 million or whatever it is, but Tank could really use it. But the thing is, right now, after the kind of performance you put up in the ring against a Lamont Roach, what I'm saying? Now is not the time. The timing is bad. Why couldn't you just do that after you fought Lamont Roach? You know what I'm saying? I don't know why people think like just because it didn't go through the first time, why can't you just return to the table? You know what I'm saying? And renegotiate shit. I mean, I don't know what's the business behind it, but you really didn't have to take the Jake Paul fight after this, unless you really are thinking about getting out of boxing, right? That's why I think it's so true and so real, that he is going to retire, because he just looked like he checked out in that Lamont fight. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know, it's just because Lamont is a athletic guy that could stick with him, what I'm saying, as far as speed and skills and being complete in the ring. And he just kind of made Tank kind of, dare I say it, expose Tank, what I'm saying, for what he is. Um, he finally met somebody who's explosive, somebody with real technique, somebody who's got talent, who could think the sport in the ring. And he met that guy and it made him look human, right? So, Tank was like, hell no, what I'm saying? I don't want this shit. I want what I had before. The easy knockouts, what I'm saying? Then backflip off the damn ropes and everybody cheering my name, you know. But the thing is, that's fake, bro. You know what I'm saying? Unless you get in there and fight against somebody who's just as dynamic as you, unless you get in there somebody who can beat you, that's where you get the credit from the real boxing fans, not just these fanboys, not just these people who just want to, just bask in his light and greatness because he's a knockout artist. You know what I'm saying? It's like we looking for the real Tank, what I'm saying, to up his game and get better over the years, right? But that's not the kind of fighter he is. And I just think a lot of his fans can't accept the criticism that's coming with these revelations that we're finding out over time. And this is right.
Right there, though, Pool. Because look, if he had been fighting more and more dangerous fights, you know what I'm saying,
Mm-hmm.
throughout his career, he would have been more prepared for Lamont Roach. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
He wouldn't have been
Right.
panicking like what he did. He expecting guys to just fall before him because he Tank Davis, and they're just supposed to fold up based on that. And
Mm-hmm.
I'll be honest with you, Lamont is a solid fighter, but he ain't no once in a generation talent. Let's face it. He went in there with a
Yeah.
solid. He waited for Tank to open up. He stuck him with the jab. You know what I'm saying? And he's really
Mm-hmm.
wobbled his ass and rocked him a couple times, just with a basic technique, basic speed, basic boxing fundamentals. Nothing special. You know what I'm saying? And Tank folded up and he got exposed. And rather than going in there like we were just saying before and taking on what he know is going to be a challenge, he know that at least Lamont was going to come back in there and he's going to have to figure Lamont out to beat it. Lamont wasn't going to come back there and underestimate him the next time and he's going to get an easy knockout. He was going to have to figure him out. He was going to have to break him down. He was going
Mm-hmm.
to have to get Lamont out of there the hard way. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
Tank do that.
I'm just trying to figure.
He was
Go
never
ahead. I'm just trying to figure out how much is boxing fans' expectation should be recognized by the fighters, right? Or how much the pressure of boxing should the fighters take into consideration, right? You know what I'm saying? Because on one, we just got kind of like two schools of thoughts on the shit, like where fighters should just be able to do what they want to do, and we should respect that. And then on the other hand, we got boxing fans who want to see these guys challenged. How much of that is should be respected? You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? It's kind of like, they want boxing fans just to shut up and just sit back, like Gervonta Tank Davis was saying. Like, should we just shut up and sit back and just enjoy the sport? Now that would be great for him. You know what I'm saying? Because you ain't got no pressure on you. You could just do what the fuck you want to do, and everybody just got to accept it. That's not boxing, bro. That's something else. That's the shit that Canelo and Money Mayweather, well, even Money Mayweather fought good fighters. He fought Cotto. He fought a lot of good fighters in his Money Mayweather era. So you can't really put Floyd in that same bag because not only that, he fought Madonna 2 times. Madonna was hell. So he still fought competitive fights. And I don't understand where Tank is getting all this negativity where he should be. It's like he don't. It's like he don't understand boxing or something. Even though he's in the sport, he don't understand that people want to see him fight the best competition. I don't understand why is that such a terrible expectation, or why is that so too much for boxing fans to ask of him? That's what we ask of all fighters. You know what I'm saying? That's what we ask of everybody. That's what we ask of Shakur. That's what we ask of Devin. That's what we ask of anybody who came through the sport, and they get the same kind of criticism. Well, why is Tank Davis so special? You know, because he's not mentally stable, or what is it? Why do people coddle this guy? You know, the way they do. It's the same thing over and over. So people are going to have things to say about you. So why are you using that to check out? You know, why? You know what I'm saying? Is anybody doing anything different than they, holding him to the standard, holding him accountable, saying to the fights that he's fighting, saying we watching you go back forth on Twitter. So we're thinking you with it. We're thinking you with it. You know what I'm saying? Now all of a sudden you're not with it. The boxing fans are wrong, for criticizing you. Saying you don't give a damn about what fighters go through. You know what I'm saying? We didn't even think that was on the table. We're just thinking that you out here trying to compete like all the other fighters. You know what I'm saying? So when is it too much? To expect these guys to take on a challenge. You've been in boxing for what, the last over 10 years, right? We're waiting for you to take the challenges, and I don't think it's too much this for the boxing fans to ask you to raise your level of competition. And I'm just listening to what my problem is. I'm listening to other channels saying that, that don't matter. They're trying to say boxing, like, we should be more understanding to what fighters are going through. And I just think that's a bunch of bullshit because nobody, unless we see something going on, unless we got inside knowledge of, something fighters are going through, and it's a lingering type thing that's affecting their training, affecting their weight. So they're missing weight, they're getting their ass kicked in sparring, something that I've heard. That's a rumor that I heard that Tank was getting his ass kicked. I don't know if Judah, was that you were just saying that Tank was getting beaten sparring?
No, I mean I heard from Blue Blood, man. He was on live and he got the call. I mean, I believe it, bro.
Yeah,
Because the thing is, I believe it more so because I seen Tank get beat up in sparring. I heard about him trying to take the gloves off because Frank Martin was whooping him. I heard about this big white Russian that came in there and knocked him out. They've been trying to keep this stuff under wraps for years, but Tank been getting beat up in sparring. Been.
but my thing is it's sparring because even Mike Tyson used to get his ass beat in sparring. A lot of people don't know that. You know what I'm saying? He got knocked out in sparring one time. You know what I'm saying? So sparring is sparring. You know what I mean? Because you in there, you're trying to get you're trying to get your game together. You're trying to put everything together. So sometimes, if you fight a sparring partner, you done already been working on shit. You done already sparred a couple of guys. This guy's fresh. That's why they keep bringing in different sparring partners, what I'm saying, to get so your stamina up, to work on different counters and speed, power, what I'm saying? So we don't know where they are in these sparring sessions. We don't know what they're working on. So if you go in there, you get your ass beat, what I'm saying? Not to make an excuse for them, but that's why I don't take a lot of I don't take a lot of these sparring uh, uh, wars seriously, because you don't know where they are. The guy probably, you're not in shape. So that could be it. What I'm saying, you in there to sharpen up your skills. So you just don't know where they are, where they are in the sparring. So if you go in there and get your ass whipped, it's really now when you get yourself up, your stamina up, and you get close to your fight date, you fight that guy in sparring is different, what I'm saying, because now you done got yourself together and you got everything on point, what I'm saying. So, when you're building yourself up, what I'm saying, in sparring, you can't really use that. Tyson got knocked out. A lot of fighters get their ass whipped in sparring. You're not gonna be what I'm saying, you're not gonna be the same every day, is my point. And so I don't really take that into account, but I had heard over years and time that, Tank, he quits when he gets frustrated. You know, that's something that has like really stuck out and kind of resonated, and I never took it into account before, but now just putting everything together, you know, that spoiled brat type mentality, what I'm saying, I'm gonna take my ball and go home and nobody gets to play type shit, what I'm saying? That's the kind of stuff we got to get out of the sport, you know. It either you in the game or you're out the game, what I'm saying? Don't come in the game and try to control everything and try to get everybody to move the way you want to move or get everybody to think the way you want them to think. No, people got things to say. What I'm saying, people want you to, they want to challenge you. They want you to challenge yourself, but we can't want it for them. Is my point. We can't want it for him. And now I just think people are starting to see the real Tank Davis, um, the real, things that's been brewing up in his soul and spirit for years. You know, it's shocking. It's just shocking, y'all. Um,
Can I throw something in there
I
real
don't
quick?
really say. Go ahead. Footwork.
Just on the sparring tip, because you make a good point about it's not being a big deal because somebody get touched, get hurt, dropped, or even stopped in sparring. And you know, and I used to hear that about Mike too, Oliver McCall and all the other guys,
Hmm.
the other guys that used to get with Mike when he was in his prime. But when I
Especially
think,
Oliver McCall. Yeah, he was.
yeah, he used to give him that
And he
work.
had a mental breakdown in the ring. Mm.
You know what I'm saying? But when I think about some of the best fighters in the world, some of the goats out there, you know what I'm saying? I
Hmm.
never really heard them really getting dealt with like that in sparring too much. You know what I'm saying? I don't really remember a whole lot of rumors when Sugar Ray was at the top of his game. You know what I'm saying? Really getting roughed
Yeah.
up like that. I never heard that about Ali when he was at the top of his game. Larry Holmes. I never really heard any rumors about them getting that work. Even Tank's peers right now. You know what I'm saying? I don't hear too much out of Devin, and I could be wrong, but out of that camp or somebody just really getting with Shakur and sending them home with a bruised up eye and all that kind of stuff. I don't hear
Hmm.
that too much. Even with Crawford, maybe one or two rumors here or there, but the bottom line is that these guys are elite fighters, and when they walk in there for sparring, yeah, you might be competitive and stuff like that, but they supposed to be the boss.
Right. Right. But like I said, all these guys have gotten touched up. Larry Holmes, what I'm saying, used to beat the hell up out of Ali. That's why they told him, not to go out there and fight. Um, what I'm saying? It happens to all of them. But the reason it don't mean nothing is because these guys got a life outside of boxing, and you don't know how they live in that life. You know what I'm saying? It's like you got to build yourself up to become the fight on fight night. And what I'm saying, so that means you got to get in there and do the work. And it depends on how far you stray away from your craft, you're going to get touched up. You know what I'm saying? You're going to get touched up because, nobody can run 10 miles, say a 3 minute mile, what I'm saying, until they work themselves up to it. You know what I'm saying? And now if you stay in shape year round, what I'm saying, yeah, you could do that shit easy. But a lot of these guys, they stray away from the craft. They out here living life. So when you come back to sparring, those guys that are ready for your ass, they're gonna touch you up on that day, until you start to get your stamina up and start to get your shit back together. But people can't be telling stories about that shit. You know what I'm saying? You got to keep it in house. And yes, you are the boss, you know. So you're not supposed to hurt your the guy who invited you to sparring. That's why Errol Spence Jr. got kicked out of Mayweather camp because he was going too hard. You know what I'm saying? And they kicked his ass out, you know what I'm saying? Because, he was trying to get in there and prove something, when you're just supposed to be in there and let the champ work on something. So, that's why I say, it's not a real fight, and I think a lot of these legends, what I'm saying, when they working on stuff, you're always going to be able to catch them because, they getting in shape, what I'm saying? They just working on shit. So unless it's like the Mayweather doghouse shit where, they cut the clock off and they just want to see what kind of dog you got inside of you. Now, when you're talking about that, that's different, where they cut the clock off on these dudes and it's like, okay, we going until somebody drop, you know. So Mayweather was kind of insane for doing that kind of stuff, but it was, unless you got that kind of situation and then it's reported on, yeah, I could say that, what I'm saying, that would count. But it's rare that you find camps or boxing gyms that do that we hear about. I'm pretty sure a lot of them probably do it, but we're not privy to that. What I'm saying? We're not privy to that as boxing fans. I know Mayweather started getting kind of popular for his doghouse rules and stuff, but I think somebody got hurt and they kind of stopped reporting it. You know what I'm saying? Somebody got fucked up in there and they kind of stopped reporting that kind of stuff. And but it probably still goes on and stuff like that. But I don't see Tank Davis being a part of nothing like that because he don't seem to have that kind of he don't seem to have that kind of grit, and I think he's kind of more aware of, the leaks and, people reporting this kind of stuff, what I'm saying? So I think he after the images of Devin Haney and him sparring got out, I think people are now more they're more aware of that kind of stuff and they try to keep it under wraps and stuff, what I'm saying? Because nobody wants to be embarrassed because they got dropped in sparring and shit like that. That shit is just kind of embarrassing. So, but it don't even matter now since, the man said what in 8 weeks, I think what he said after this fight, something about he got 8 weeks to go before he retired. And I was like, wow, that's quick. You know what I'm saying? You gave us a good 10 years up in this shit, you know what I'm saying? So hey, I'm happy for him, tell you the truth, you know what I'm saying? If you done something, you know what I'm saying, you secure your family future and legacy or whatever, that's cool, man. You got generational wealth. I'm happy for you, but you know what? Don't come back to the sport now with that bullshit. Because the next time you come back, people are gonna be looking at you crazy, Gervonta Tank Davis. They're gonna be looking at you like, bro, you know what I'm saying? You violated. You violated, bro. You know what I'm saying? It's like you were good, but don't come back crawling, you know what I'm saying, like, thinking you're gonna be, what I'm saying, considered one of the best and stuff. I just think I don't know where he's gonna be in boxing history. I don't know if anybody's gonna place him in boxing history, how he's gonna be remembered, you know what I'm saying? But I just think it's kind of sad the way this all worked out for him, I mean, and I that's just coming from a boxing fan point of view. I know he's gonna leave out of here with a bag of money. Um, but sometimes all money ain't good money, bro. That's all I'm saying. All money ain't good money, you know. But I wish him health and everything, but we got good fighters coming up. We got the Keith Thurman fight coming up against Fundora. That's gonna be interesting to watch. Because Fundora is such a monster and Keith Thurman coming out his ancient sarcophagus, what I'm saying, to give us a fight. Um, I was listening to what Keith Thurman was saying. Of course, he's coming out hyping up, about giving Fundora a bad bad dream or some shit like that. He was said Keith just be all over the place. But I don't think he's going to be competitive enough. I think he's been out for too long, to give Fundora, an active fighter, any kind of good resistance. But I think that's one of the more interesting fights that's come about because people have been waiting for Keith Thurman to come out and do something. I think what's his name, Tim Zoo would have been a better choice because now he's been beat a couple of times. I think that would have been a more competitive fight for him right there at 154. Going straight to Fundora, I think that's crazy work for him. Not having a tune up. Um, that's going to be crazy work for Keith Thurman to get through. What I'm saying? What you guys think about that fight, and what chances y'all think that Keith Thurman got to win that?
First of all, I get so tired of boxing sometimes because
Me too.
we always get some damn fights we don't be asking for, man. I mean, nobody demanded this fight. You know what I'm saying? Nobody demanded that Tank fight Jake. Nobody even asked Crawford to go up 2 or 3 weight classes. You know what I'm saying? But
Right,
we
right.
damn fights that nobody asked for, and the fights that we want, they always seem to just kind of slip through our damn fingers. I get tired of that. But I'm gonna have to go with Fundora. Because
Mm-hmm.
pretty much got the same height advantage that Jake got over Tank. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
He can stand in his corner and jab, Keith from over there, and he ain't even got to, you know what I'm saying, leave his corner to win the fight. All he got to do is stick and move, and Keith still got to be rusty. He done fought what 3 times in the last like 5-6 years. So
Mm.
you know what I'm saying? It's gonna be a tall task for Keith to try to get in the inside and stay in there, do some damage, and really put a hurting on Fundora. I have to give Fundora, at least the edge going into that fight.
But I tell you what, Keith Thurman, he's selling this fight. He's doing his thing when it comes to selling the fight. I think that's going to last longer than the fight itself. Um, but he just look like he's a bag chaser too. Look like he's just going to come out and what I'm saying, do what he can do. We talk about an active champion. So WBC champion. So he's active. He's out there beating people ass. You know what I'm saying? We saw what he did to Eric Lubin. I'm saying we saw what he did to Tim Zoo. That man is in a zone right now. And Keith Thurman, he's been chilling, man. I mean, nobody knows what the hell Keith been doing. So I just don't, like you said, we've been seeing some of the best fights slip through our fingers, but nobody asked for this fight, and somehow Keith Thurman always get in there somehow. Um, if he beats Fundora, it would shock the world. I mean, he's about to shock. I mean, I gotta see it. I'm intrigued. You know what I'm saying? Just to see if Keith Thurman got the wheels anymore. You know what I'm saying? Do he got the legs? You know what I'm saying, to get in there? And how would he figure out how to get inside of Fundora? Do we still hit? Do we still got the power? You know what I'm saying, to drop Fundora? Because that's what he's going to have to do. He could box. You know what I'm saying? Can he get in and out? Can he get in there with Mendoza? You know what I'm saying? When he dropped him, can Keith Thurman do the same thing? And Fundora is getting better and better with that jab every day. Are we about to see Keith Thurman get pieced up and knocked out? That's gonna be interesting to see. Because a lot of people still love Keith Thurman, man. I just don't. He's 36 years old. I just hate. I don't want to see these guys go out bad. And I know I ain't got no control over that, but sometimes it is what it is. I think it's gonna. I think it's. Maybe Keith Thurman got one last. They say every fighter got one last good fight in them, and maybe that's it for Keith Thurman. Because everybody been shitting on Keith Thurman for a while. And with saying that, I mean, good reason. Like you said, not fighting, and every 3 years he'll pop out. We saw what happened with Josecito Lopez. He fought pretty good with Mario Barrios, but he still took a horrible body shot. I don't know if he still got those issues, but I know it's going to probably show up in this fight with Fundora Because if he takes some body shots, we're gonna see Keith Thurman bend over. You know what I'm saying? It's probably be over. He probably get knocked out to a body shot by Fedora. You know, but I think it's
It looked
pretty
like Danny
interesting.
Garcia in there.
Man, that would be because Danny Garcia, he lost to Laura. You know,
Yeah,
he lost to Laura, and he didn't look good at that weight. You know what I'm saying? He didn't look good at, up at 160. He didn't look good, man.
he went out.
Danny Garcia, we know he's a warrior, but he just kind of crumbled on the ropes. You know what I'm saying? By one shot by Laura. Laura still fighting at 40 something years old is damn impressive. And Danny lost to a 40-year-old guy, So, you know, it's just kind of interesting to see these guys try to challenge themselves, but I guess he thought it was sweet up there at 160, you know. But he learned the lesson, you know what I'm saying, that guy can really fight. Danny Garcia, he thought he had an easy belt that he could collect. No, he sent them back that he sent them home packing, you know.
I don't want to see
But
that. I don't want
you
to see
want to
that.
see what?
Yeah, I don't want to see that happen to EJ either.
Well, EJ only lost one fight, man. He only lost one fight and he lost it bad, So you got to see what he got left in his gas tank, man. He gave us some good fights, and we got to appreciate the fighters for what they give us. Like I said, they all got an expiration date. At some point in time, fighters just gonna, they're gonna tap out. They can give us what they can give us, but considering the lifestyle that they're leading and all of that coming into play, you know what I'm saying? It's just it all comes to a crescendo. You know, hopefully, he still got something left, him and Jamel Charlo, because Jamel Charlo haven't been looking top tier. He took him a couple of years off, and now he's trying to come back and challenging everybody, top guys and stuff. It'd be interesting to see them two go at it because they kind of got the same status, level in people minds and boxing fan minds. I wouldn't mind seeing that fight between EJ and Jamel Charlo. They could generate a lot of money in Texas and fill out a stadium. I think that would do well in Texas. So they really. Should get it on. So I've been hearing that they're in negotiations. So see where that goes. But I don't know what coach EJ would be going with. Maybe Ronnie Shit. Now I couldn't use Ronnie Shit. I guess it just depends on who we go with. I don't know who would coach EJ. Um, that's a question right there in itself. What his team going to look like? Um, it's a lot of things EJ got to get together. Because when I saw him training, he was training with his best friend, that guy that do content on YouTube. I forgot his name, but he's a boxer too. But I forgot his name. I don't know who's on EJ team right now, but if he's working his way back, what I'm saying, hopefully he takes the right fight, take a tune up, because I know he don't like taking tune ups, but he gonna need it right now because especially if you're talking about fighting at 154, or if you're talking about fighting at 160. I can't see EJ trying to fight Jana back or trying to fight Carlos Adamas or somebody like that. No, what I'm saying? We'll see another knockout. Or, if he fights somebody, too active at 154, I don't know if he can fuck with them guys right now because they've been fighting back to back pretty much. So, and he's been inactive for 2 years. So, I know he like to kind of make these big leaps, from coming inactive to active, but he's not 20 something years old. He's on the wrong side of 30. So, you know what I'm saying? But it will be interesting. I'll be happy to see EJ back in the ring if he can perform and see what he got left, see what he got left in the gas tank. I think Jermell Charlo is the perfect fight for him. As far as with the status, you don't want to see EJ lose to somebody, that's not top tier. You don't want to see him lose to a journeyman. You don't want to see Jamel Charlo lose to a journeyman. I don't think Jamel Charlo would fight anybody that he didn't have that status, didn't have a higher status. So, and Jamil Charlo is the linear champion, undisputed champion at 154. So, he should be able to fight somebody good. What do you think about Jamil Charlo footwork? What do you think about him right now? What are your thoughts as far as where he at as a fighter right now? Even with the performance to Canelo Alvarez, what do you think?
But that's where I was going to actually start with, because I just, going into that fight, I just really had so much respect for him as a fighter. Now, outside the ring, it's something different. But what he
Hmm.
brought into that ring and how he did Castano to, take the title, I'm talking about he could have retired right then and there, man. And
Yeah.
I think he could have went down in the history books off his career and off his run to undisputed and all that. And you couldn't write a better story than that. But
Hmm.
he really kind of let me down though in there with Canelo, man. I thought he was an a-hole, you know what I'm saying, and I
Yeah.
thought I was gonna see that in there with Canelo. You know what I'm saying? I thought
Yeah.
that at some point, I knew he was showing a lot of respect, for Canelo, but when he just got in there and was flinching and he was cowering up against the ropes and anticipating shots that were gonna come in and just overreacting to stuff, I was like, come on, bro, you know and I bought that fight. You know what I'm saying? And I stayed up,
Hmm.
half the doggone night to for him to step to Canelo and bring some thunder to him. Nah, and that just really disappointed me. And he disappointed himself because he was crying back there in the in the back room. And I don't know if he's gonna be the same coming back behind an experience like that, especially after he saw what Crawford did with a different mental approach. You know what I'm saying? Because when I'm thinking
Hmm.
about talent levels, I think Jamel is a really good talent. He might not be quite as talented as Bud, but
Hmm.
where he went wrong is he went in there intimidated. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
that's the part that's harder to recover from is getting your mentality back where it should be. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
and that's my only concern for him is that, if the situation got as rough as it did with Castagneo or whatever, or some of his other fights, how is he going to react, knowing now that because going into Canelo fight, he lost the fight, but he'd never been beat. You know what I'm saying? That was the
Yeah.
first beat. You know what I'm saying? And he got beat
Yeah.
sound. And before that though, he still could have that approach that he can't nobody really get with him like that. You know what I'm saying? When he on top of his game. But right now, I'm concerned, and I'm gonna just tell it like it is, man. This is another fight. If him and EJ get in there, this is another fight I never really wanted to see.
Yeah.
Uh,
Me neither.
I think there's a lot of other good competition for both of them out there, rather than turning on each other. You know what I'm saying? And it's a business, and I get all of that. You know what I'm saying? But the way I see them, man, coming out of pretty much the same camp, the same, promotional banner.
Yeah.
They're like brothers in my eyes, and I don't want to see it. And both of them been out of the ring for a long time. I don't think it's going to be a good looking fight. You know what I'm saying? So,
Right.
uh, but I would have to say that if they both came in at 154, I would say that right now in my mind it would probably be a pick 'em, and I would probably get a slight edge to Mill because I still just don't know about EJ. It'll be 3 years probably by the time he get back in the ring,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's too many question marks right now. And I'm a rider for EJ, but yeah.
No, I get it. I get it. But just being honest, we don't know where EJ at physically, mentally. We don't know where he's at, man. We don't know if he's checked out or he's just trying to grab another bag, or what I'm saying, they just trying to build up a fight just to grab a bag for each other. Um, that's just the sad, state of boxing. You know what I'm saying? Because these guys are not as competitive as they once was. The guys that was at top of the sport, they just in they just in limbo right now. So we're looking at the new crop who are starting to fight. I mean, where the hell is Jamar Charlo? You know what I'm saying? He should be fighting. You know what I'm saying? We got so many fighters that's in limbo that's on the shelf right now. And I don't know if that's due to the PBC their budget or not. What's going on with that? Because these guys are not fighting. So it's kind of hard to assess, what they're gonna be looking like in the future. Um, EJ should be right in the middle of the 155 pound division, and Jamel Charlo, but it's hard to see where they're gonna place if they're not fighting. You know what I'm saying? That was a bad look for Jamel Charlo, and I know a lot of people. He did move up in weight to challenge Canelo, but you would think he would have given a better effort, um, knowing that he's a pretty good boxer. He didn't even, he didn't even like, give Canelo any trouble in the fight. You know what I'm saying? So, and you kind of seen it to the lead up to when he was training and stuff. He was just giving Canelo too much respect. That wasn't Jamel Charlo that be talking shit on fight height. And I was like, I was looking for that Charlo. He was too respectful when he talked to Canelo. And once you start seeing that, you know that they're gonna kind of kiss the ring. So that was a surprise by me. So I don't know. It's all these fighters' mentalities are kind of changing once they touch a little bit of money. And we see it with a lot of fighters. When they touch that money, after grinding for so many years, you can only stay competitive for so long, right? Before your motivation goes down and the pressures of meeting your rivals and stuff. It just gets to be too much for them. And that's what I'm seeing in the sport right now. And I think that's why just saying boxing is dying and stuff, because these guys are not like really wanting to face these challenges, after a period of time. But I get it though. I mean, I do get it. It's a lot of pressure, it's a lot of expectation, it's a lot to live up to, but that's what make you a special fighter. That's why you get paid a shitload of money. That's why you got fans out here, what I'm saying, because you are doing all the things that most people wouldn't be able to do, right? That's what separates you, from everybody else. That's why you get the adulation. That's why you get the glory. But and they forget about that part. You put yourself in that position. Nobody asked you to start training at 6 years old, what I'm saying, to become a boxer. That's something that you wanted to do. So you know what the sport is all about. What I'm saying? Like Tim Bradley, have the conversation. You know, your daddy tell you, your uncle, somebody tell you, man, hey, there's good and bad that comes with boxing. But if you're gonna be in the limelight of anything, people are gonna, they're gonna have their opinions. They're gonna have good and bad opinions. And these fighters don't seem to understand that the opposite side of love is hate, right? So you're gonna have people that love you, you're gonna have people that hate you, but you can't just concentrate on the people that hate you, right? You got to rock with the people that love you. If I was a fighter and I was out there, I wouldn't even pay attention to the people that hate me. What I'm saying? I'd be too busy basking in the love that the people that support me. Those are the people that's buying your t-shirts. Those are the people that buying your merch. Those are the people that fuck with you outside of boxing. People who want to pay to see you spar. People who want to support your family. That type shit. So, that's just the way I look at it. But what else? We got, what fight I'm excited that I want to see? I want to see that O'Shaquie Foster versus Fulton fight. I think that fight that's gonna be a hell of a fight right there, because we don't get too many fights with people in their prime, prime for prime fighting. And I just think that's gonna be, I think that's on the Keith Thurman card, Keith Thurman versus Fedora card. I think that's gonna be the what I'm saying, one of the top fights on that card right there, that I'm looking forward to seeing. Um, and we'll be covering those fights, what I'm saying, with Keith Thurman get in there and get his ass knocked out. I don't think it's gonna last long, but that'll be a good fight on that card to check out. And we got a fight coming up, I think, what's that, November 8th? Well, who is fighting on November 8th? I gotta go back and look it up.
I thought it was
Somebody fight. Who's fighting November 8th? I gotta go look it up again. But we got some fights coming up, so what I'm saying. But we're gonna be trying to go live day to day, whatever the controversy is, and we'll just mine it out on my channel. What I'm saying, anything we want to talk about, what I'm saying, you're willing, you know how I get down. You come up and talk about it. And I think everybody's getting pretty tired of talking about uh Gervonta Tank Davis retiring. I think people are tired of that shit. And you know, if y'all want to take a look at the fight, see what the shit look like between him and Jake Paul, we'll cover it. You know what I'm saying? We'll take a look at it and see what's going on with it. Even though it's gonna be foolish and all this kind of stuff, but we'll take a look at it and talk about it and poke fun at it and all that stuff. But until then, y'all, you know what I'm saying, we're gonna shut it on down and see you guys in the next live stream. Y'all tell a friend, you know what I'm saying, and hit that like button and we'll talk some more boxing on the next live stream. Thank you for coming up, Footwork. You know how we do, you know, and
Appreciate
we'll cover the next fight. You know what I'm saying? I think that's the Jake Paul fight, isn't it? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we'll cover that, man. But see you guys in the next live stream. We're gonna shut it down, and we'll be back tomorrow because I think it's the weekend. I got tomorrow off. We'll come back tomorrow and talk some more and see what's going on in this boxing world and everything. Y'all appreciate you guys stopping through, and I'll see you guys tomorrow in the next live stream. Peace out. Keep your notifications on. You know what I'm saying? Peace out, y'all. VA Money Group, the whole 300. I don't know why. Where's your wrench? Was it in Phoenix 6? What is it? Yeah, where's your wrench? It's like I always had it. I'm gonna put your wrench on, bro. But we'll be back tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? See what's going on in the boxing world, man. Peace out, everybody.